People told me I couldn't do a lot of things.
I feel like I'm the chosen one.
Look at this. We created this. This didn't exist before we were here. All we are is proud and passionate. I love Toronto. I love this team. And we're going to the NBA Finals.
Nothing matters but winning.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Rapzville Weekly. I'm your co-host, Gabriel Cellio, alongside Adam Casucci. And this is episode 93. We've taken a little bit of a break. The Raptors season has been well underway. We've had a lot of schoolwork to go through, and we took a little break and let the season play out. Obviously, if you saw our last video and listened to our last podcast, then you would kind of know that our expectations for the season were a little more grim. And we've been happily surprised in how good the Raptors have been playing. So in efforts of bringing back a little bit of Raptors talk, we reached out for a special guest, podcaster, television broadcast assistant for the Raptors, host of Hustle Play with Chris Boucher. We're being blessed by the presence of Mike Roach for today. Mike, do you want to say hello?
Well, I appreciate the introductions. Best one I've ever heard for myself.
Well, we'll take that as a good compliment.
Yep.
All right. So we've prepared some questions for Mike for today. And to start, we just want to learn a little bit about him. So just to start off, you're a content creator, a podcast producer at OXP Media is what I found. Can you speak a little bit more about your position there and the company itself to start?
So it's a company that I started just to kind of get my feet wet a little bit. You know, I started off in the sports industry. Well, I played throughout high school. I coached for a long time, and then I was an intern at Sportsnet Radio, so Sportsnet 590 The Fan. And I was cutting up a lot of content for radio. It was mostly hockey, and then I was doing a lot of interviews, but it was like lacrosse. I was doing the Toronto Rock, and then I was doing stuff for like the PGA Tour and golf, interviewing vice presidents and stuff like that downtown. So my main thing is basketball, and I always wanted to do basketball, but you know, you kind of got to start off where they put you, right? So
yeah.
I mean, long story short, when I was at Sportsnet, I was able to make some connections, and I had a trial to work for the Raptors in broadcasting behind the scenes, and I've been there ever since, and it's worked out pretty well with me, and that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Okay, that led right into my next question, because I was going to talk about your television broadcast assistant is what the title I found for the Raptors. I was going to ask how you worked up to that position, so thank you for that. What is your day-to-day like?
Well, a lot of the time, when it comes to that position, it's a lot of miscellaneous. So you have to be able to do any and everything that they ask you to do. I mean, for the most part, I work under Jack Armstrong, Matt Devlin, Leo Routens when he was calling the games, now Alvin Williams. Predominantly those three, but I could be working with anybody from, you know, Paul Jones, Sherman Hamilton, the producers, directors in the truck, and you got to just be able to do anything. I mean, if these guys are on air, if they need coffee, I'll get it. When they're calling the game, if they need stats, I'll get it. The producers in the back, if they need stats, I'll get it. If they need me to show broadcasters around the arena or make sure they're supposed to be at a certain time, that'll be me. If I got to walk with them through the halls and they got a live hit on the court in 3 minutes and we're walking through crowds and people are asking for pictures, sometimes I got to be a jerk and say, you know what, sorry, we can't do this now because we're on and live in 3 minutes. I just got to make sure they get there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's tons of different stuff. You kind of, one thing about the job is behind the scenes is that every game is different. You're never going to come there and do, there's a lot of things you'll do the same, but no game from a game to game basis is exactly the same. You know, I remember when I was working, they gave me an assignment when the All-Star game was here. I was working with NBA Entertainment from New Jersey. And they literally have you doing everything. Like I was signing people in and out on a computer. Then I was going to buy lunch for everybody from NBA Entertainment. Then they give you keys to a car to drive around executives.
Not bad.
Make sure you're picking up documents for these executives. It's like any and everything. You know what I mean? You just got to make sure that you're versatile. If you're not versatile in what they're asking you to do, you're probably not going to last too long in this business.
All right. So then we've seen a lot more. That's the day-to-day. How has your experience been like as a podcaster? You have your own show, the Mike Roach podcast, and obviously Hustle Play with Chris Boucher. So how has your experience been speaking with a lot of the Raptors players and other members of the organization?
I mean, it's been great, man. There's a lot of things that take time when it comes to podcasting. If you want to be able to get these guests and stuff like that, it takes years for the most part, man, because to a certain degree, you're not going to be able to do a show for the most part like I'm doing if you don't have some type of relationship with someone, right? If they don't know you, they're probably not going to want to do it with you. But I've been around for 8 or 9 years at this point. When you're always in the stadium and you're always on the court, eventually you're going to start meeting people, you're going to start talking to them. And it's just about networking and making sure you're consistent, right? When you have a podcast, if you're not consistent with it, people aren't going to look at you seriously when you tell them that you do it. If they don't see you dropping something on the regular, they're going to be like, yeah, you have a show, but you're not really coming hard with it, right? Ultimately, at the end of the day, that's really what it's going to be. So, I mean, the experience has been good. It's a way to also keep me around the game because I was always on the court and around players and executives and all that kind of stuff from October to April or May or whatever. But part of the reason I started the podcast years ago was because I wanted to make sure that I kept myself close to the game in the off months, the June, July, August, September. And when you're doing podcasts and you're still reaching out to people, then it keeps you close to the game, right? I love the game, so I want to be around it all year long. So that's what it helped do for me.
You can hear your passion when talking about the Raptors and everything. Your passion for the sport is tremendous. But I wanted to move into the Raptors-related questions here. This season, we have seen the Raptors organization develop a roster predominantly made up of 6'8" to 6'9" forwards that are versatile in terms of their ability to defend multiple positions, score, handle the ball. And what are your thoughts on this type of team moving forward, hopefully into the playoffs? Do you think a bigger lineup like this can be really sustainable in the playoffs?
Yeah, absolutely, I do. They just got to make sure that they can get it done on both ends, right? If you have a Delano Banton and a Thaddeus Young and a Scotty Barnes and a Pascal Siakam, like that can't hurt you. You just got to make sure that their skills are tight. If you can handle the ball, if you can be a playmaker, if you can play defense, if you can rebound, well, then that's just a bonus, right? If you can do all of those things. I think they kind of got this method from looking a little bit at the Milwaukee Bucks over the years, because the Milwaukee Bucks, that's kind of how their lineup looked for the last few years. They have long, athletic wings who can switch on defense. If you're playing a zone, if you're playing man-to-man, a matchup zone, they can make it extremely difficult for you, especially if you have some small guards, right? We've seen this over the years with Milwaukee, and the Raptors have had trouble with them, especially prior to when Kawhi Leonard was there. So I think it was a nice move for the Raptors. I mean, at this point, Fred VanVleet and Gary Trent Jr. are kind of really your only real small guards, aside from maybe Malachi Flynn as well. But everybody else, like you just mentioned, are long, they're athletic. But most of all, the only way you're going to be successful with these long guards is if they can play defense. If you have a bunch of guys who are 6'8" or 6'9", but they can't defend, there's really no point in having them, because defensively is where you want to be able to have the edge. Like the Raptors just played against the Lakers, and it was an easy call. before the game that they were just going to absolutely destroy those guys. Like, they had no answer for a Siakam and a Scotty Barnes, too big, too strong, too athletic, and they just give matchup and fits to the opposing team. So I like what the Raptors are doing. I agree with them in terms of this strategy. All they have to do is make sure that they're not one-trick ponies. Their guys have to be all over the place in terms of their versatility with what they can do on both ends. If you look at a guy like Delano Banton, and he's a young player, right? Not necessarily a guy you're going to go to score the basketball because he's not at that level yet. He's not at that point. But if you look at the way that he can defend, one of the first guys Nick Nurse always has on the floor when he puts on a full court press is Delano Banton, right? One of the guys he has that's picking up full court is Delano Banton. He can handle the ball well, gets up the court quickly, good court vision, can see over defenders when making passes into the paint. It's a good strategy if you have the right coaching and have the right player development, right? So it's been working thus far because the expectations for this team were not high at the beginning of the season.
For sure, yeah. So that's a great answer, and I thought that your Bucks analogy was right on with Chris Middleton, Giannis, Bobby Portis, even Drew Holiday. A lot of feisty players there, and they've obviously gave us some trouble in the past. It kind of works into my next question here. Is there one team from the East you think the Raptors would not want to face, and some team that they may be scared to verse? So like almost like a mismatch in the East for the Raptors.
Honestly, at this point, I don't think there's the only really scary team I really see if everybody's healthy, and by everybody I mean Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, is Brooklyn.
Yeah.
That's really about it. I don't think the Raptors are afraid to match up with anybody. I think they welcome a matchup against anyone in the Eastern Conference. I think they prefer a tougher team, to be honest with you. I think it would be a good test for a young team who's looking to do some big things in the next few years. We know the Raptors organization is about winning, and they're not scared of anybody. They have nothing to lose. Nobody had expectations for this team. If I was in the Eastern Conference and I was a Chicago or I was a Miami or I was a Philadelphia, I'd be worried against playing the Raptors, because the Raptors are the team that had no expectation. Those other teams have expectation. They're at the top of the conference. So they're probably a lot more worried about playing the Raptors than the Raptors are worried about playing them.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And I think funny enough, this season, the Raptors have had probably some of their best performances against the tougher teams, and then like the worst performances against teams below them in the standings. So it seems that we rise to the occasion against the tougher opponents.
Right, exactly.
When the lights are on, the Raptors always perform. And like you said, Gabe, maybe against the Pistons would be kind of a downfall, but I think it's just a curse with maybe Dwayne Casey or whatever. But moving on to our next one, we know Scotty has had a very strong rookie season so far, and is definitely a candidate for Rookie of the Year. The Raptors recently played a stretch of games against the other top rookies in the league, and sadly, obviously lost all three. But now have turned it around and won 4 straight games, and Scotty has had very solid performances. But who personally do you think is the Rookie of the Year? So Cade Cunningham, obviously Evan Mobley's in the race, and Scotty Barnes. Do you think Scotty has done enough so far?
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be close. It's going to be, at one point I did think Cade was in it. He's not in it. This is between Scotty Barnes and Evan Mobley. Those two guys have impacted winning on their team. I give the slight edge right now to Scotty Barnes over Mobley. Although I think it's neck and neck. I think it's really close. Like, it can still change. I think it's going back and forth at this point. But overall, I just look at Scotty Barnes in terms of what he's doing and how he's doing it. So I like the way Evan Mobley plays. He's big on the inside on offense, really good shot blocker, good at altering shots, good defensively. He's long, he takes up space, moves well laterally, can shoot it a bit from the outside, looks like a very good help defender. So I like that in terms of looking at Evan Mobley. But with Scotty Barnes, he does all of that and more. So Scotty Barnes is shooting it a little bit from the outside, which I don't think anybody really expected to see this season. But he's actually making some outside shots, which is, great if you're a Raptors fan. But not only that, he's learning how to use his size. He's playing mouse in the house basketball, as we used to call it when I was on the court. He's finding the mismatch, understanding how to use his body, has that nice little jump hook, almost with both hands, actually.
Yeah, the left and the right.
Yeah, getting that ball, nice drop step, finishing with both hands, which I like. He's pulling up from mid-range.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, overall, the offense is just, from a scoring standpoint, and that's just the beginning. This guy can handle the ball in the open court. Nick Nurse has already put him at point guard, so he's already making decisions and using his court vision, something that we won't see from Evan Mobley. So he's handling the ball, he's calling plays, he's running the offense, making decisions. But not only that, with Scotty Barnes, it's like, from a defensive standpoint, he can guard all 5 positions. He can guard the point guard, he can guard the shooting guard, he can guard anybody on the perimeter, he can guard anyone in the post. And I can't say that for Evan Mobley. We saw how frustrated LeBron was when he went up against Barnes.
That was on display. It was perfect. We saw the post hook over LeBron. That was amazing. That was a highlight reel play. And he just seems fearless in those lights. Like, it's a tough place to play at Crypto.com Arena. And he just came in LA, and he's fearless. And I'm sure he's going to put up another great performance against the Clippers the next night. So,
yeah, absolutely. The guy just has no fear on the basketball court. He kind of just plays. He knows how to play the game right. He's one of those guys that he doesn't just go on the court and say, I need to get mine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He looks and plays as a team guy. He looks at, what's the best pass I can make? What's the highest percentage shot that we can get? He doesn't necessarily have to be the guy to score the ball, but he's looking to facilitate. He's looking to get the ball up the court. He's looking to rebound, find the outlet pass, get the ball up, do whatever it takes to win. And I just like that he's pretty much like a better version of a Antetokounmpo very early in his career. You know what I mean? Like, it took a Antetokounmpo a little while to get as good as he got. Scotty Barnes is like doing it right off the bat. So if this continues to happen, I would say going into his 4th season for Scotty Barnes, you're probably looking at a top 10 player in the league.
For sure, yeah, because the wings are dominating the NBA right now, and it's for sure a great thing to see Scotty Barnes perform at the level he is right now. And you did answer the next one, which was any NBA comparisons. Yep. So that's what we had down. But how high of a ceiling do you think Scotty can get to? So a top 10 player as well. You think that he can get to that all-star level and be a versatile playmaking, scoring big in the league?
I think he could be a top 5 player for a long time. I think the ceiling is that high on this guy. If this guy is doing this as a rookie, I'm talking about everything. God help the NBA if this guy can shoot from the perimeter consistently. He would be an absolute nightmare. If you're looking at look at the difference between the size of a Antetokounmpo now to when he came in the league, and look at Scotty Barnes.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine when he gets into his 4th or 5th season and he's actually in shape.
Grows into his body.
Grows into his body, puts on more muscle, super lean. He's a rookie. Rookies are not strong when they come into the NBA. And he's already strong. So if he's strong now, what is he going to look like in 4, 5, 6, 7 years? He's only 20 years old. He's not going to be in his prime until he's about 27, 28.
Yeah, and now with the NBA, who even knows, some players hit their prime even at 30. But
exactly.
Fred VanVleet said it himself. He thought that Scotty doesn't have a ceiling, and I'm starting to agree the more and more I watch this guy play. Our last question, sort of a little bit longer winded. obviously Chris isn't here, Boucher, but you two have had numerous lengthy conversations on your podcast. So could you speak on the transition and growth Chris has made throughout this season specifically? He started the year with multiple poor shooting performances. It appeared he was trying to display maybe an expanded arsenal. He took different types of shots than he regularly would in seasons past. I would say more mid-range jumpers, a lot more contested jumpers. And I'll fast forward to the past 2 months, and we've seen a much different style of play. One more similar to years past, centered around, hustling for offensive rebounds, putbacks, blocking shots, doing the dirty work, if you will. So, how did Chris make that mental switch to decide that, for now on, I'm going to do what's best for the team, no matter my stats? Would you say that the maturity reflected in that understanding is rooted more in being a veteran, or maybe in just having a tougher mentality, and age is not really as much of a factor?
Honestly, I think he's just become smarter. That's really just what it is. I think he's become smarter, and you have to understand about Chris. Chris is a champion, so Chris understands that he has to do whatever the team needs him to do to win, right? So if that means taking less shots and getting more rebounds, playing better defense, making hustle plays, trying to get offensive rebounds, he's going to do anything possible to try to win. And he's a natural scorer. He's always been a scorer. I don't think that's ever going to change, even though he's making more of an emphasis to be a hustle guy. Overall, I think the three-point shot and the shooting is always going to be there for Chris. I think that's something that's just in his game, that's in his blood. He's been that way. If you look over his career, whether he was in the G League, when he was in college, whether he's been in the NBA, he's always been a guy who tries to put the ball in the basket. Now, when I talk to Chris, you're saying, okay, maybe they don't need me to do so much of this. You might need me to do something else, right? Mm-hmm. And ultimately, at the end of the day, that is what you do when you're a winner. It's tough to kind of get out of the mindset, but when you really think about what the team needs, what the greater good is, right?
Yep.
You have to be able to make a change. If you can't adapt, you're probably going to find yourself out of the rotation. So if you can adjust to what the team needs, the team will adjust and have you out the lineup, and they'll put somebody in the lineup that can adjust. So, I mean, at the end of the day, that's really the bottom line. And I'm happy to see the adjustment that he's made in becoming more of a hustle player, more of a rebound guy, even a better defensive player that he was before. And still, even at the end of the day, you still look at a game against Denver. Well, he still drops 21. If he doesn't drop that 21, you probably lose that game and 13 rebounds, right? Yep. So just the overall aspect, he's just become a smarter player. And if he continues to become smarter with his basketball IQ, there's a good chance, hopefully, that we'll see him back in a Raptors uniform next season.
Yeah, hopefully. He's done great so far, and we love to see the transition that he made. All right. We don't want to take too much of your time, Mike, but we want to thank you for coming on. This has been incredible. You were absolutely amazing. You definitely blessed us with some great insight. So just thank you again for coming. Would you like to, plug any of your different shows or whatnot?
Yeah, man. Sure. The Mike Roach podcast. I'm on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts. I'm on Spotify, at Mike Roach 7 on Instagram, Mike_Roach_ on Twitter. And I love your guys' page. It's awesome. You guys are consistent. And you guys did a great job here, man. You guys are good at this.
Thank you. It's been a while, but hopefully we gave you a good time today. So yeah, obviously, everybody, please like and subscribe. Leave your comments down below. Follow us on Instagram at Rapzville. We post NBA news, different types of content, some highlights. So please subscribe and show love. But once again, thank you, Mike. And as always, that's us signing out. Peace.
People don't really understand how obsessed I am with winning. I don't care about anything else.